Well, hey there, folks. This is Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike, and I do bees. Welcome back to another day of my 2020 beekeeping season. We're going all the way from last winter through to the next fall here in my small operation in southeast Louisiana. And by George, we are almost there. And always remember, this is a how I do video, not a how-to video, guys. Not telling you what to do, not showing you anything that you should do, and not telling you certain ways are better than others. Just showing you what I do here in my operation. And if you happen to like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It always helps the channel, and it's the best way to support the channel. It gets the video out to those recommended pages for those people just searching for bee videos. So it's end of August. It's around the 19th, I think, something like that. It's hot and it's summer, you know, and we had a dearth. July is definitely a dearth. But I saw a post the other day about some goldenrod up in Franklinton. Sure enough, and that's a little further north than here, but sure enough, I rode down the road and we got a big old stand of it down the road. Now, that's kind of unusual to have a big stand. We'll have goldenrod here, there, and sporadic, you know, popping up here and there, usually beginning of September, and we're getting there, but it's kind of early for a big stand of it to be there. And there's two types of goldenrods we have down here too, and I don't know the variety names, but one's a real compact like flower, and the other one is more frilly as far as the way it bends over, and one just stays straight up. And one will normally bloom early and the other one will bloom later, but to see that goldenrod down the road, it's a little bit unusual. Let's take a walk out to the bees and I'll tell you a little bit. Now, the last video we did some mite treatments with oxalic acid. I'll be doing that again this Saturday, and then I'll do it again the following Saturday. Usually do 3 treatments, sometimes I do 4. But I noticed when I was pulling the supers off, because some of those had a lot of beetles in them, and I didn't like that, and it was more space to guard, and the honey was almost full in the boxes. So, and I got about 5, you know, with the bottler, with the tank, I probably got about 7 or 8 gallons. But I wanted to get it off of there, reduce space, because there was a lot of beetles. And as I pulled them off, usually I would have bees gathered around the supers on the trailer, even with the lids on. But that wasn't the case. And I noticed the bees were working. They were really working a lot, and they hadn't been working lately. And I looked, and there was a lot of pollen, bright yellow pollen coming in. So, and then we had a whole bunch of love bugs show up for a few days. And that's usually coincides sometimes with a flow. So maybe we've got an early flow going somewhere out there. I don't know. But what I can tell you is the bees didn't get crazy over that honey that was pulled. I didn't want to give them a chance to try and rob, but I sure enough noticed a little difference in their actions and what they were doing. So anyway, what am I doing today? Well, I just got done taking apart my valve and washing my bottler. So I take this apart once a year as I get my tank cleaned out. I always clean it when I go with the new honey. And I take the valve apart because one year I actually had honey get crystallized in here, because I don't use this thing, you know, once a week. I'm bottling honey, maybe once every 2 weeks, maybe more often. But what'll happen is this doesn't stay warm, even though the tank does. So I had some crystallized honey in the valve one time, and I bottled and got done, and there was enough of a chunk that it stopped up the plunger. And I called Maxon, and they told me to take it apart. And he told me, he said, you can take it apart regular. This will come on out now, but it's stuck together. So he told me just pop it with a screwdriver. This was a few years ago. Just put it in there real quick. So that's what I do once a year, pull it apart and clean it. And see, sure enough, there's crystallized honey on that. So I wash it up real good, and then they suggested putting food grade grease on the plunger, and I do that. It's pretty gunky down in there. So yep, I clean it all out good. So with the valve clean now, you can see this is the plunger. I gotta rinse it still, but this is the plunger, and this is the bottom O-ring that seats inside the valve down there, and you can see it's beveled. And in my situation, what had happened a few years ago, I'd had it for a year, and I, kept running my honey right through it to the next year. Some crystallization came through. I guess I hadn't bottled maybe in a few weeks, and it's pretty cool in there where I keep it. But the honey stays warm, but the actual valve doesn't. And some crystallized honey got in the seat of the O-ring, and it was a good amount. It was a good chunk because it probably dumped. Well, it dumped over a quart on the floor. So it was a slow leak, but it was enough to leak. So it kind of made me gun shy. And the guy told me, it's just easy, take it apart and clean it. I said, well, it doesn't hurt to take it apart and clean it each year. It's not a common occurrence. I have seen where the plunger begins to, let's see, down here, right here, it begins to get gunked up with honey and such over time, but that's the only thing, and I guess it just leaks up through here as it, goes through the honey. But it's not a common occurrence, but since it happened the one time, I just decided each year as my tank empties with the older honey and I get the newer honey to put in, I clean it out. And so what I was going to do was show you something out here. This isn't a big video, this isn't going in any hives or anything. I wanted to show you some deals with bearding. Now, we treated last week, and I run screen bottoms on probably the majority of my hives. So I put that chloroplast plastic in the bottom to help keep the vapors in. Well, let's look at the hives, and I'm going to show you something about covering those screens up. Because what I did was I just left them in there because I'm going to treat another week. Rather than take them all out, I just left them in there. Well, it's hot. We're just now getting down into the up into the upper 80s and low 90s for the evening. So, and we have had cool mornings, but I'm going to show you the hives once again. Now my hive on the left, that's number one, that's a solid bottom. Then the next one is a screen. And that one is always bearding because it's always hot and it gets less ventilation. And that's fine, the bottom's wide open. But the ventilated one, that one doesn't have a board in it, number two, because I took that one out. Look, there's hardly any bees on the front. Now that is a smaller hive, it did swarm late, but it's requeened since then, it's doing fine. But let me show you over here. So as we walk over to these hives, I left the chloroplast boards in them. And these hives had it was almost scary looking sometimes because you wouldn't see any bees on the front of the hives. Well, they were ventilated through the screens. So they were ventilating. Now, if you look at them, these hives had no bees on the front. Now I left some of the introducers in and the chloroplast boards in, and look at the difference. So those screen bottoms definitely make a difference on ventilation. Now that nuke, it doesn't have any ventilation. They're eating through some feed pretty good. And it is cooler this evening. I came by cutting the grass yesterday and these bees were all out on the outsides. But those are all screen bottoms with covers in them. And I mean, when you walk by here in hotter temperatures, when it was even warmer than this, there wouldn't be that many bees out there. It's kind of disturbing actually, because I was thinking, man, are they that weak? But no, they're not. They were just being very well ventilated. So now they're hot, but that's okay. We're gonna vaporize, again, and this will just save time. Now I'll tell you the main reasons I run screen bottoms is not for ventilation. That is not my main purpose. And I don't know if I've told y'all this before, but my main purpose for those is for mite drops. If you've got a hygienic hive or the mites come off the bees, or even with oxalic acid, if you knock them off and maybe it doesn't kill them right off the bat, if they fall through that screen, supposedly they die. So I've always run screen bottoms for mite control, as much as it can control them. Now that hive's kind of weak. That nuke is strong, but it's tall. And the one on the end, I actually thought it was being robbed a couple weeks ago, but turns out it's still fine. I just put an introducer in it and it's got bees. I'm wondering whether it had some kind of late swarm. But yeah, so that's why I run those, guys. I run them not for ventilation, although it's not something that hurts. But I've also heard people that don't want to run them because of robbing and the smell underneath, but I haven't necessarily had that problem that I know of. I mean, it could have been the demise of some of them, but I don't know. So I stick with them. I like them because, first of all, the ones I get are built really well. they're just quality built boards out of cypress, and that's one of the reasons I really do like them and I stick with them. Again, I haven't seen a robbing problem with them that I know of, but that's not to say it hasn't happened. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying I like them for mite drop, and it's obvious, and I've noticed this before, I'm just showing you this on video, but it's obvious that when you close them off or you compare them to solid bottoms, I'll have a ton of bearding on solid bottoms and none on the screen bottoms. Now this one here, she's beard. I actually got an inch reducer and blocked off the screen, so they got double whammied. Let's take a look at this nuke. So I took the nuke, I'm feeding this one. They've drank half a bottle. Oh, the bee is stuck. Get out of there, bee. There we go. Yes, they've drunk half a bottle. So that's not a double nuke, that's actually just the cover for the bottle. Let me. Now another sure sign that there was some sort of flow going on is the fact that that 10 frame over there, I think the one with just the medium on top, I left that medium on there because they had a lot of bees and they were able to guard it, and there was some stores up there, but it wasn't full yet, and they made fill up with goldenrod. But that one and the one to the right of it they were light, and but they weren't so light they needed feed right then and there, but they were definitely light. Like I could tip them like wow. And so I said, well, I'll feed the nuke. So I fed the nuke because it was very light. I'll feed them the 10 frames when I get off vacation. Well, when we went back after coming off vacation, they actually gained weight. Now that tells me that they're putting something in, so that's a good thing. But that means we've got something flowing, and again, they're working. Now, you see them, they're not working right now, but the other day when I began cutting grass early, these bees were working. They weren't hanging out. And in the dearth in the summer, usually you just see a lot of bearding and hanging out. You see working, but not like I saw it. So something's going on. Something is definitely going on, and it's early. But everything's been early this year. And I don't know if that had a lot to do with my swarming and all that I had going on, but something is definitely going on early, and everything has been early. Here's a bottom board. This was actually I want to say this was a Man Lake bottom board, so it's pretty old, but it's a solid bottom and it's rotting out. Got to change it this winter. Yeah, see that old rotten bottom board? Them Amish ones don't do that. You won't see that from them. Now that is an older board, but I've got to change that out this winter before it collapses off of the darn stand. So that's just a little video I wanted to do of that. So I got to go in, I got to pour up my honey because I got my tank all back together, I got the valve ready, and I need to go ahead and get the honey poured up, and so I can be ready to bottle, but get my 2020 honey into the tank and be ready to bottle for this weekend. Actually does recommend food grade grease on the plunger on the top of it. This is just working in. Product placement here. Of course, Amsoil food grade grease. What else? I use it on the ball bearing of my extractor and this. Oh, let's throw a little bit around there. They say work it in a little bit. They say do this about every month, but I probably don't do it every month like I should. But I do it every couple months. I'll clean it on up. There we go. Some of this excess off of here. You'll see eventually, I see honey ooze up in there. Now I don't recommend tearing your valve apart if you have a maxi tank. It's just something I do because I had a leak. It's just one of the things I do now. But I'm not recommending anybody do that, because you know this isn't a how-to video. It's a how I do video. We'll throw her up to about 90 for now. Get our first batch of 2020 honey on in there. Oh yeah. Ooh, already starting to get solid down there. Ooh, it's a full bucket there. Some light stuff. Yeah, we'll dump 3 buckets in today. But I wanted to shoot a quick video and just show you and explain my bottom boards and show you the bees and how they're doing from the outside. From what we can tell, we won't open them. But you know, when I went through them a few weeks ago for the last few assessments, there were brood going in, a lot of brood going in, and so, you know, they looked a little, kind of, yeah, not super strong. And some of them we'll just call it peaked. And, you know, that brood has emerged. The other day I seen bunches of bees doing orientation flights. So the brood is emerging. She's probably slowing down. Her patterns are probably getting really small, but if the nectar's picking up, she may pick up a little bit again, and that'll push her into winter, and the rest of the winter bees will be coming. So the numbers are getting there. We're seeing numbers come up. We're seeing more activity on the hives. Seeing more normalcy on the front of the hives. Nobody's messing with them. Everybody's coming and going, guarding their entrances. At night you can go out there, they're all guarding their entrances. So everything looks normal. And I just noticed the other day that they were all bearding now instead of just the solids bearding. All the other ones were bearding. Well, I say all of them, but not all of them. But 90% of the screens were now bearding too, because I left the I think it's called chloroplast. You know, the political science stuff. I left all those in. That'll just make it easier when we jump out there with the vaporizer. And I'll probably take them back out for September and October, and then they'll go back in November. Alright guys, that's all I really had to say today. And I'm glad you guys joined me. I know the videos are getting a little mundane and it isn't a whole lot of bee action, but it's part of my season. It's what I do. It's where we're at. I guess what's left is working our way into the fall and making sure each hive has enough food and putting feed on the ones that don't. But yeah, that's all I can think of. That's what we're going to be doing, getting ready for winter. Well guys, I appreciate all y'all following along. I do appreciate everybody that subscribed. Man, it's crazy. It's crazy. And the one video I put out, it got so many views. I was on vacation. We had a Wi-Fi for one night, for like not even a full 24 hours before we went back out into the boundary waters. And so I had a chance to upload a video that I had already edited. I just popped it up there. It was that last assessment video where we had to basically couldn't really assess. It was just checking hives and looking at the front, and I'll be darned, man, golly, we got some views on that. So man, thanks a lot. Thanks to everybody watching. Thanks to everybody for your comments. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I try to put something out as best I can, but again, things are slowing down. And if you do like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, family, anybody just enjoys watching bees. And once again, thank you so much for all of those you that have been following along the whole year. It's been fun, and it's almost over. But I'll probably keep doing some videos here and there, but I don't know. As far as the season, we're almost wrapped up, guys. Well, look, this is Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike, and I do bees. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and God bless y'all.